Reddit, what signs show that someone is intelligent? Story 1. The wise man can pick up a grain of sand and envision a whole universe, but the stupid man will just lie down on some seaweed and roll around until he's completely draped in it. Then he'll stand up and go, "Hey, I'm Vine Man." Jack Handy. Story 2. Intelligent people don't always want to be seen, but a person's eyes will give away how fast the motor behind them is spinning. If you're unsure what I'm saying, think of someone really dumb. And that glossy glazed over look, the way you can see them spinning thoughts over almost in slow motion. Then work your way from there. I could list 100 adjectives, but discernment is a skill. Start watching and you will see. Story 3. They ask thoughtful questions not just to respond but to understand. They admit when they do not know something and show curiosity instead of insecurity. They explain complex ideas in ways others can grasp, and they listen more than they speak. Real intelligence is often quiet, but it leaves an impact. Story 4. Quick wit. Funny, fast problem solvers. Level-headed or calm under pressure. Highly focused, curious, believe in continuous learning. Adaptable, can communicate in multiple ways for a specific audience. Understand their own weaknesses. Story 5. Surprisingly, a lack of arrogance. I belong to a forum where there was an extremely intelligent poster, RIP, who was self-possessed and respectful no matter who he was talking to. But we've also got a couple of posters who are objectively wrong 9 times out of 10. But if someone even politely suggests that they might be mistaken, the insults start flowing like the Colorado Rapids. It's bad enough that they've even driven some promising members away. ETA. The worst of them finally went away after nearly everyone stopped engaging with him. Story 6. They usually say very little. They listen. They observe. They question things. It's not good enough to know what something does, I must know how it does it. As said below, curiosity, tempered with patience and some discipline. Being inquisitive is great, but alone it isn't intelligence. Being able to direct that curiosity, focus it, apply it where needed, and not where it doesn't. That's intelligence. Story 7. If you ask them a question that they do not know the answer to, they do not get defensive, they get excited. They may answer something like, "I don't know." But that's a fascinating question. Let's figure this out. Story 8. Not branding someone racist, sexist, etc. for having an opinion that you don't share. Accepting you aren't always right just because you're louder than the other person. Instantly knowing it isn't butter. Story 9. How they apply their knowledge. Some people know very little and think they're stupid, while some people know a lot of information and swear they are God's gift to the world. When in reality, it's not what you know that makes you intelligent, but it's how you apply it to create the best life for yourself and others around you. That makes you intelligent. I have one big example. There are people that think they are better than others because they have master degrees or other academic accomplishments. Yet, they can't apply what they've learned worth shoot. They can only regurgitate it, making them sound smart in interviews. However, once you work with them, you realize they only have good memory, but absolutely no critical thinking, pattern recognition, or application. Story 10. They pause, mid-sentence, to taste their own thoughts. You'll notice it. It's not hesitation, it's a soft internal edit, like their brain throws a little dinner party for the idea before it serves it to you. Story 11. Empathy and curiosity. Also, an innate comfort with the phrase, "I don't know," and reveling the opportunity to grow because of it. On a political note, Most intelligent people do not align with problematic belief structures, i.e., racism, bigotry, republicanism, due to a wider breadth of knowledge and wisdom. Story 12. Not always, but wealth business success is. Of course, all of us could name at least one person we know or know of IRL that defies all logic by being kinda aloof and short-sighted, has trouble spelling basic words, etc. But for every one of those people, there's probably 10 who came from very humble and challenging beginnings who just persevered and refused to accept defeat as the end result. Though I suppose now that I type all this out, it's more of a motivation thing rather than intelligence. That's my answer though, regardless. Story 13. When they are calm and don't yell, actually take the time to listen and then offer their own perspectives. They may align with mine or maybe won't at all, still brings a different facet to whatever the topic. I am not saying that the people opposite to what I described are not intelligent. I just gave an example. Intellect can come in many forms, and I don't want to offend someone without knowing. Story 14. When they're not trying to sound like they know shoot, they clearly don't, just to avoid seeming dumb. And just, in general, when a person understands and is willing to admit that they don't know something and is genuinely ready to learn it. Story 15. Everyone is surprisingly intelligent, and there are many varied signs that they're thinking away in their stupid wee heads about all manner of things. If a person wants a sign that says another being is intelligent as some sort of signpost to say they are worthwhile as a living thing, then that is a sign that they are maybe not using their own intelligence fully. Story 16. Smart predictions over time, don't repeat mistakes, fast with jokes, good ones, judging their decisions, capacity to learn new things, absorb a lot of info in a shorter time than others, and overall always improving. Story 17. People who are very knowledgeable and particular in certain subjects could be sharks, knowing different plant species, history. To me, that fuels my brain when people give statistics, their new discoveries, anything. Story 18. I love this saying. It's hard to convince an intelligent person they are wrong, but it's impossible to convince an idiot he is wrong. Intelligence isn't IQ. It's simply the ability to learn, then apply, and improve. Story 19. They think before they talk. If they don't have anything to say, they don't say anything. They leave room for error. They don't let other people think for them. They don't blindly follow the group or blindly disagree with the group. If someone teaches them something they don't know, they are pleased. If they make a mistake, they correct it. They respect nuance. Story 20. Intellectually, adjusting their understanding when new information becomes available. Emotionally, empathy, and a deep understanding that they are entirely and inexcusably responsible for their behaviors. Story 21. As ironic as it is, freely admitting, I don't know. Bonus points for the appropriate curious follow-up of how does it work or whatever. Not being entirely certain of things is my go to look for someone that has intelligence. That and the ability to change points of view, perspectives easily as the information they have changes. Flexibility and adaptability, especially in real-time situations. You know it when you see it. These people keep pace with dynamic environments, if not set the pace, where others will kind of slog through it, getting some or most of the information, but not all. Anyone that's been in a new lesson at school has probably witnessed this scenario. Some kids just get it and proceed, while others will struggle through. Story 22. Smartest people I know freely admit they only have a surface-level understanding of many topics, but are happy to explain what they know. Generally listen or ask questions more than they speak. They tend to make conversations collaborative, i.e., we are both learning this together. Story 23. When they're not intellectually lazy, they take the time to thoughtfully consider and understand the information in front of them and what it implies. The second step to this is then to consider whether further information or alternative points of view are needed before they form any conclusions. Story 24. They don't conflate open-minded pursuit of truth with intelligence. For one, they will early on have observed that many intelligent people have perfect ability to grasp things should they want to, but often just won't. They know that intelligent people often blinker their own intelligence in favor of emotionally protective self, serving socially cohesive delusions or creeds. Religious people, cult members, political fanatics, people in denial on life issues. Story 25. Strange question. Considering a slime mold can navigate a maze, you'll have to define intelligence for someone like me without the mental faculties of a hungry pile of goo with a strong sense of direction. Story 26. Other good answers on here, but this is probably my favorite. Smart people are always asking questions, including questions that don't seem like they warrant asking, e.g., okay, but why is the sky blue? Or with answers that seem obvious but aren't guaranteed. Story 27. Had a guy reporting to me, extremely curious individual. So dumb. It was otherwise a very wholesome human being. So I sold him to another team to have, and then gave him amazing recommendations when he left the company a few years later. I mean, he still could make up for some with him being nice and reliable. But boy, he was not getting any of the more complex stuff, and he was definitely not intelligent. Story 28. That's usually my litmus test too. If they immediately get jokes, especially ones with implied punchlines, and fire back more jokes quickly, they're probably at least on the high end of average intelligence. Story 29. I feel like this is a bit more having lived a lot in life than secretly being intelligent. You have to understand things, sure, but you also have to understand the strides like that in life to be able to do that. Story 30. Speaking to people at a level they understand is one thing, and when done properly is a sign of intelligence. I relate code switching more to social adaptation. For instance, the racially charged political guy at work knows how to act when the higher-ups are around. He's very different when he doesn't think people of importance are listening. He is very wrong at many levels. Basically, thinks he's smarter than everyone, and everyone below us is worthless, and unknowingly burning bridges and digging his own grave in the process. He is not intelligent. If he really were intelligent, no one would. Notice his code switching. It's already come back to bite him in the jerk, and now he's just mad and frustrated all the time. Story 31. Reminds me of, some people can read War and Peace and come away thinking it's a simple adventure story. Others can read the ingredients on a chewing gum wrapper and unlock the secrets of the universe. Story 32. I mean, this isn't an intelligent thing. There's lots of people who have ADHD and struggle to remember the last thing they said, yet they can still be extremely intelligent. I have ADHD though, and never can remember the last thing I said, and am not intelligent at all. LOL, so IDK. LOL. Story 33. I have quite honestly been wondering that with the recent mall shooting, and any other incident of that kind, people with a plan and a manifesto, I get that they're trying to accomplish something. People like the mall shooter, shooting wild because of a disagreement. How do you not understand that that moment of rage will bring you decades of consequences, if not cost your life? Story 34. I'd like to fix this for you. They have their own opinions and do not blindly follow the narrative of any political body or social org. In USA, this would be not blindly supporting D or R. Now I'll say, though, I don't agree with you, BC. I have met some dumb motherfucks who don't believe in any of that type of shoot for the sole fact they're stupid and apathetic. Bigger group is just apathetic and jaded. LOL. Plenty stupid people who going against those grains. Story 35. That may be true in some places, but the dividing line between conservative and liberal here in the US had been dragged so far to the right that straddling the line here makes you an extremist in many other places. Story 36. Science has proven this statement to be, how do I put it, a load of fudge bollocks. In all seriousness, swearing has nothing to do with intelligence or the lack of it. What this stereotype has everything to do with is classism and snobbery, at least in England. Story 37. And the moment you say this, people jump on and use profanity in their responses. There has to be some sort of connection between the lack of consideration of others around you and those who use vulgar speech and profanity incessantly. So lack of intelligence, maybe not, but definitely inconsiderate. Story 38. This is me, and I am pretty sure I annoy everyone else around me. 1 minute, I'm asking a question, and the next day, I can provide you with a full education on a number of ancillary subjects. I find it humbling that for someone with intelligence, I was never a top student. Story 39. I used to tell my high school students the difference between high school, college, and grad school. High school. How am I supposed to get this paper up to 3 pages? College. How am I supposed to get this paper up to 10 pages? Grad school. How am I supposed to keep this paper under 30 pages? Story 40. In fairness, it can sometimes be difficult to distinguish them from the sea lions. I generally give the benefit of the doubt, but if someone starts showing that their questions are in bad faith, my claws come out. Story 41. Can confirm. I know I am funny. I am quick, witty, and know my audience, and can make anyone belly laugh pretty easily. The laughter of others is what I live for. I have also had many people comment on my intelligence, despite that I have zero reservations about acting like a total dumbass. And I had a very fudge-up childhood, lots of deep-seated trauma, and struggle with a perpetual storm of depression and constant tragic end ideation. Yay. Story 42. I'd say it's absolutely a sign of intelligence. Code switching typically requires a genuine curiosity and reverence for the culture you're emulating. It's not exactly being bilingual, but I'd put it in the same category of intelligence. Story 43. You don't successfully survive many environments by being ignorant of the manners of speech, body language, and culture of others. It does require intelligence in the truest sense, as it requires pattern recognition, critical thinking, and execution on how to act in sometimes hostile environments. Story 44. Many people consider me smart, but most of it is just knowing when to speak and when to STFU, and I think admitting when you don't understand something is along similar lines. It's also kind of parallel to, it is better to keep one's mouth shut and be thought a fool than to open it and remove all doubt. Story 45. Savage. I just throttle down and start self-debasing. No sense in asking a minivan to race a Corvette. My mistake if this occurs. To be clear, I'm the minivan. You can't go embarrassing a pretty car like that, they thought. Pretty meant fast. Story 46. I lump them all together. Maybe my standards are too high, but I've been held to very high standards my entire life since I was in elementary school. Maybe it's not a matter of standards, but just of classification. Being intelligent to me includes being emotionally mature. That implies a high moral standard. Many humans don't fit this criteria, but most animals I've trained and worked with do. I'm a professional horse trainer and veterinary technician. 24 years experience. Intelligence has nothing to do with standardized testing. Story 47. I think the clear reality from this comment section is people want to redefine intelligence to include virtues, humanity, empathy, ECT, because it's more affirming that way. The fact is, being intelligent and having these good qualities are completely distinct. Like you, I have met intelligent jerks, just deeply unpleasant people. They exist more often in competitive environments in my experience. Intelligence doesn't make anyone better than anyone else. So why the need to elevate intelligence to a moral virtue? I don't get it. Story 48. My point exactly. Most of us don't take the time to think what comes after our actions and then try to control fits of rage and all other stuff. You do a mall shooting. You get haunted for the rest of your life. Family of the victims mourn their loss and even try to find you to get revenge. None of that would happen if you just controlled that voice in your head. Story 49. Maybe, but it's still a sign of intelligence that you don't unquestionably fall in line with groupthink just because it's popular amongst those around you. If you have the ability to independently analyze a situation and decide for yourself what makes sense or is objectively true, then you're someone that actually uses their brain. Story 50. Yeah, that manifestation of curiosity is often punished by people who find it annoying or disruptive. Intelligent people are often still curious, but they may have been trained not to express it too openly. Story 51. Two things. 1. I understand I wasn't necessarily clear, but I didn't necessarily mean asking questions out loud or to other people. That was implied since the original question was about signs someone's intelligent. 2. There is a strong correlation between mental illness, neurodivergence, and high intelligence. Social awareness, or, for that matter, giving a rat's jerk when even we perceive a course of action is socially inept, but there's a question worth asking, takes a back seat. Story 52. I have professionally diagnosed OCD, and the worst thing is an unanswered question that has been posed to me. I will hyperfixate on figuring out the answer and do similar things as you describe. I consider it a superpower since it often bears fruit. Story 53. I had an ethics professor in grad school who would only give us 3 pages double-spaced. It was much harder than you would think to get 10 pages of thoughts distilled down that much. It was a great exercise, though. Taught me a lot and actually represented what most of my future bosses wanted. Story 54. I never did anything to hurt him. I'm not a terrible person. I was a manager with responsibilities. My team thrived under me, and I fought for pay rises for everyone else in my team. I couldn't tolerate him in my team because it was hurting others that were doing way more and were capable of way more than him, and it wasn't a training issue because I spent so much time with him. The question was, what are the signs? This is not one of them. The real answer is speed, not genuine curiosity. When someone is intelligent, the speed within which they are able to put everything together, even if it's a new field, is a sign of high intelligence. Everyone can try and ask many questions thinking they look smart. Handful is able to ask the right questions and actually process the answers. Story 55. I went to join the wife for lunch at BJ's. I showed up early to order ahead for us. The waiter asked if I needed more time. I told him I think I just got ghosted, and his face dropped as I showed a face of pure disappointment. A moment of silence before I told him I was just playing. The food took longer than expected. I wonder if held off on the order until he saw my wife walk in, though. Humor is my only medicine for pain. Story 56. Yes, as I stated, I feel it's just more of living the lifestyle to understand above being intelligent, but you do have to comprehend and empathize with the lifestyle to get it, which is intelligence. Just second place. Story 57. I'm not talking about mindless questions people ask just to hear themselves speak. I'm talking about when people don't understand a concept being discussed and they try and fake their way through the conversation instead of just asking for clarification. Story 58. It's called factory learning, the current system. Up until college is just really teaching you to be a good factory worm. The school system was set in place during the Industrial Revolution after all. Just look at the way 1 till 12th grade is run, set times, and bells, etc., etc. Story 59. Thank you. I had so many teachers tell me I was stupid as a child. Turns out, I have a popcorn brain and struggle to concentrate without moving my body. I have a good memory, but struggle with tests. I have gotten much better through academic coaching and years of practice. Now I mentor young people, and I will never tell a child they are stupid. Story 60. When you look to those and you consider they've found fungal networks with connected mycelia miles wide, acting like a neural network, the definitions of things like intelligent and normal become much more pedantic than we realize. Story 61. That reminds me of an idea I had for a sci-fi story, a sentient planet, alien global mycelium network fungal superintelligence. The biggest organism on Earth is a network of honey mushrooms spanning over a huge area of land, so that was the idea behind it. Story 62. There's a quote that goes something along the lines of, "You can't judge a fish's ability to climb a tree. Intelligence of ways that only matters. All types or kinds of intelligences matter. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to have high intelligence. Being a rocket scientist doesn't make you intelligent in ways that only matters either." This is for an example, purpose. A lot of the intelligence things are stereotypical, where it's you have to be a great mathematician, for an example. Yet that's not the truth. Some people who are exceptionally great at math can't figure out how to turn a washer machine on. Again, just examples to put into context. It can be applied in many ways when it comes to intelligence. Story 63. Can it be applied to being smart enough to earn respect from my family so they'll leave me alone? Or smart enough to fight off my demons? I might be crossing into venting territory. That quote had clarity, thank you. Answer: earn and give the respect to yourself by being present, showing up, and building confidence of knowing and developing who you are. Cultivate the value in that, without the contingencies of constantly evaluating whether or not it's earning your family's respect. Your family isn't going to live your life you are. Would it be nice if they choose to respect you? Of course. Can you earn their respect? I'm not certain. Then again, what difference does it make? You have one life to live, and you live it for yourself. There's intelligence in that, versus living it for a family that may or may not choose to respect you, whether you cross rivers or oceans in their eyes. Family shouldn't be a contingent on whether, if, and when they decide whether or not you're worthy of respect. You already are. Now, maybe you might ask yourself, does my family meet the construct of what a family should be to me, under the contingencies of what they bestow upon me? You don't have to play the role in anyone else's play but your own. Family or not, you're welcome. Story 64. Earn and give the respect to yourself by being present, showing up, and building confidence of knowing and developing who you are. Cultivate the value in that, without the contingencies of constantly evaluating whether or not it's earning your family's respect. Your family isn't going to live your life you are. Would it be nice if they choose to respect you? Of course. Can you earn their respect? I'm not certain. Then again, what difference does it make? You have one life to live, and you live it for yourself. There's intelligence in that, versus living it for a family that may or may not choose to respect you. Whether you cross rivers or oceans in their eyes, family shouldn't be a contingent on whether, if, and when they decide whether or not you're worthy of respect. You already are. Now maybe you might ask yourself, does my family meet the construct of what a family should be to me, under the contingencies of what they bestow upon me? You don't have to play the role in anyone else's play but your own. Family or not, you're welcome.